Good morning, everybody, and welcome into the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where Jimmy Allen, your host, takes you around the city of Omaha, introduces you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm who specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging brands online. If your business can benefit from any of that, check out pixelfiremarketing.com today. Today, I'm joined by Zach and Lynn Haver, owners of Mad Hatter and Westgate High-Tech Auto Care. Guys, thank you very much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Zach, we'll start with you. What is the biggest difference between the two brands, and what was the thought behind starting Westgate, which is the newer of the two?
So really, we had Mad Hatter Auto Repair, and we were truly locked into, we loved the brand, we loved what we were doing with it, we loved everything about it. But a friend of mine who owned Westgate, Dan.
Shout out to Dan.
Yeah. Anyways, we were doing a lot of sublet work for him because he was at the age of retirement, couldn't invest in that business anymore. At the same time, we were talking about going European, foreign labels, that type of stuff. And really in our Mad Hatter marketing, it just did not fit our bill. We're having such success in that marketing that the Westgate brand kind of stuck out. It was Westgate High Tech. It screamed, we're good, had great SEO value. On top of that, already in the European part, but we're like, if we stepped out into a different brand, we could market it different. We could get after those different people. Because a lot of marketing thoughts behind that of who's your target demographic. Our Mad Hatter target was not the same as our Westgate or the European branding.
Well, Lynn, let's talk about that. When we're talking about Mad Hatter, what is the ideal target demographic for what you guys are doing at the different locations for Mad Hatter?
So it's ideally a 25 to 40-year-old female. She's busy. She needs her car. Her husband's probably been telling her for weeks he's going to fix something and hasn't. And so she has found us on social media, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Looks fun, friendly. And as soon as she walks into the doors, especially at our Omaha location, she'll feel comfortable, not like she's in a dirty repair shop.
How big of a deal is that for you guys when you mention the TikTok and the social media, and it's everywhere, and obviously this is streaming across multiple social media platforms as well. How big of a deal is it for you to make the environment that people see on their phone or on their computer the same environment that they walk into the shop and see?
It's very important, especially when we're trying to recruit people to show our culture as far as what our employees experience by working at the shops. It also, shows that we're friendly and that we're not threatening and trying to con people. So it's just very important to meet in the middle on whatever platform they may be. Females are typically more involved in watching DIY videos on like Instagram or, we're not really big into showing like dirty car parts.
Right.
Because that target market just needs her car so she can get to soccer practice and get to all the places she needs to be. And
she doesn't care what an alternator looks like. Yeah,
no.
Sure.
So it was very easy for me to brand Mad Hatter because I am in that market and I do need my car constantly. So
I got Zach. I have to ask because she said it's easy for me to brand Mad Hatter. Is it as simple as, because listen, we have several husbands and wives and spouses and brothers and sisters that come in here that are business partners. Is it as simple as Lynn is good as that with that stuff? I'm going to take my hands off and let her cook.
Actually, the funny thing is we collaborate a lot. I have weird ideas sometimes. She comes with me sometimes and she'll be like, hey, can we do this? And I'll be like, oh, that won't look good.
Sure.
Knowing cars and what's going on. So it's really a great collaboration that we have between the two of us.
Lynn, now I have to ask you, he said he has some good ideas. Can you testify to that?
No, he does. He just doesn't have the creative ability to bring them to fruition. So like I will get an idea from him, or he probably cruises social media way more than I do. And so he'll see things and trends and then tell me, hey, we should do something like that. So we do collaborate.
When we talk about the development side of things, we brought it up in your bio, and Zach, you brought it up once now. When we talk about finding somebody that is either new to the industry or been in the industry a while and kind of molding them in the way that you guys see the vision for whether it be Westgate or Mad Hatter heading in a direction, why is that such a big deal for you to help develop the next generation of automotive repairs?
When I was a kid, back in the 90s, a lot of trade programs started coming out of high schools. Mm-hmm. And with that, our nobody really got taught how to do this or that, and everyone was kind of pushed to a 4-year college. I mean, I know that was when I was in college, kind of what was going on, and kind of pushed the trade schools to the side. And we're actually going to be having a giant snapback because, as I was reading some, into the industry stuff, they're talking that potentially between 20 and 40% of automotive bays could close by the time of, I think, 2030 or 2035. So if you're talking 40% of bays closing because of lack of technicians, on the flip side, that's going to do nothing but drive up the cost of repairs for people because guess what? The actual cars on the road are increasing by about 5% per year, I think.
How much of that is, and you brought up the 90s. Hey, listen, push start is different now. Everything is done by electric computers. Everything's power windows, power doors, power locks. Everything is, most of your cars now have a spaceship as a dashboard. How does Mad Hatter and Westgate kind of stay ahead of the forefront to make sure technicians who may have been around since the early, late 90s are up to date on how vehicles operate now? Because that's obviously very different.
So that is actually the tough question that every shop and dealership and everyone in this industry is trying to do. And part of that is, the way I look at our company is we're a training and development company. We are not an automotive repair company. My point of being here and our leadership's team point of being here is to develop the staffing beneath us, to develop the next generation, bring in people and teach them, train them, help them through all those ways of thinking, how to diagnose and think through processes, not necessarily to do this is a process, but
See car, fix car.
Yeah, C-car, fix car. A lot of the younger technicians coming out in the world, especially at dealerships, are pushed into, TSB, this, that, or the other, where we throw a part at something and not.
What's TSB? Sorry.
A technical service bulletin,
Okay.
recalls. A TSB is kind of like a recall, but if your car's not under warranty, they won't pay for it.
It's not a recall anymore.
Yeah.
Lynn, when we talk about your guys' name being on it and on both different locations, and you're putting so much sweat, blood, and tears into the marketing side of it and the hours that you put in to all the stuff that you guys do on social media, how difficult is it for you guys to go out and hire a technician to give them the Mad Hatter logo on their shirt and be a representation of everything that they're doing is going to be represented by your brand?
Well, actually, I think we have 150 people on our
Yeah,
bench
we
right now that
Wow.
all work for us at some point.
Not necessarily on our bench. Over the last 12
Yeah.
months, we've had 156 applications come
Wow.
in. Through that,
That's high, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I've never hired a mechanic. So.
if anyone's watching this that
Yeah.
owns a repair shop, they just literally ran outdoors and threw up because
Yeah.
they've never seen that. What we've done is, our hiring process is different. Our everything is different.
It's a secret we're not going to share.
We're not asking for the recipe.
Yeah, but from someone, one of the quickest, our quickest process to hire a technician, most people go, "Hey, here's a mirror. Can you fog it? Come get a job because
Right.
I need someone." Even if we need to fill a spot, was it 6 weeks usually
5 to 6
before
weeks before we're actually
an application to someone actually getting an offer is about 5 to 6 weeks.
When you have as many locations as you guys do, and you have as many employees as you do, and you do as much as you do on social media, and you're as engaged in the community as you are, and I want to get into the tornado relief stuff in a minute, but do you ever have time to step back and have an appreciation for how much different it is and how unique it would be to have that many people wanting to come to work for you? Is it easy to do that? Can you see the forest through the trees in that sense?
She maybe does. I'm one of
Sure.
those. I'm one of those that everyone in our company is telling me to stop, slow down.
Sure.
Because I'm the run straight into the forest, do
Right.
whatever I can. I love the industry is, I guess, my point.
Lynn, do you have an appreciation for how unique that is, and is that kind of what you guys hang your hat on?
Yeah, I do. I can take a deep breath and not run so fast into the forest with my hair on fire like
Sure.
him. So, and I can look at all angles while he just kind of reacts.
And I think that's an absolute positive, right? Because
Yeah.
at certain times you need both. You need the guy that's
Yes.
running into the firefight, and you need the person that says, "Hey, you better bring the water with you," right?
Right.
We're catching up with Zach and Lynn Haver here on from Mad Hatter and Westgate High Tech Auto on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. I want to ask, what's the most difficult part about hiring in the automotive industry right now? What are some of the hurdles that the industry is facing from that
So
sense?
the hurdles are there's a lack of people being pushed in. I mean, I guess the new generation, there's a whole new tool belt generation coming. I really think a lot of kids versus 4-year colleges should start looking into the trades. I mean, there is so much opportunity for growth where you're not spending $150,000 to get a degree, where you get a $45,000 mid-level job in some company where, you know, in the automotive industry, you know, plumbing, any type of the trades. I mean, there's so much opportunity for people to grow, branch out, start their own, do all this stuff, and really kind of push their careers to the limit.
Through 7 weeks of this podcast, that's kind of been the one thing that's been echoed is the trades are calling, the trades are calling, the trades are calling. What do you think? Is it as simple as, hey, listen, college is expensive, debt is expensive, and people have got to find a different way to kind of make a living?
Yeah, I truly think so. You know, as I've heard from some people that actually work for some colleges, is they said the 4-year college is an expensive experiment.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Especially if it only lasts 4 years, because sometimes it takes a little longer.
Oh yeah. So, like, say, when you hear that, it really makes you think of how many kids go into college. Like, oh, let's go out to college, and then you change your, you know, degrees and that type of stuff. And what type of stuff can you really, you know, go get your hands on? And, you know, at the end of the day, like, when I go home, well, I don't actually work on cars that much anymore, but when I went home at
You miss
night,
it?
oh, dearly.
Yeah, I can tell by the I can tell by the way you said it.
But the when I went home at night, I felt accomplished. Like, you know, that mother, you know, is going to be able to take her kids to school tomorrow because we got our car fixed.
Sure.
Or that person driving through town on a trip that thought their entire trip was ruined. You got them back going again. There's so many rewards in that. Not I'm entering data into a computer.
Sure. And guys, I know I told you before this, so we were jokingly said we're going to ask some of the tough questions. Lynn, I think I'm probably going to ask you the toughest question of this interview, and I think that's the question most people have on their mind. Cats or dogs?
Well, I used to be a cat person, and then I got 2 French bulldogs.
So does that mean that the dogs went out right?
Probably. Yeah.
We've solved that the problem for the world that in that sense that so far into this interview. When we talk about getting underneath the hood and replacing a filter, changing spark plugs, we brought up an alternator earlier, versus the technology side of it, replacing power, electrical parts or computer parts. What is the biggest difference between those two jobs?
You know, a lot of it taking off parts, putting on parts. There is diagrams how to do it, steps how to do it, and that type of stuff. But you're talking nowadays, you have to know how to reprogram computers, know CAN bus high-speed networking. You got to be able to get on that communication and see what modules are down, communicate through that. You know, and simply actually sometimes hook up a lab scope that looks like a heartbeat on there to figure out where, you know, if there's a misfire in the secondary ignition or primary is an injector issue. There's so many different aspects that are actually super complicated compared to the way it used to be, you know.
Lynn, when we talk about the brand and the name, where does Mad Hatter come from?
So Mad Hatter Muffler and Brakes was a franchise back in the
About 56 is when it
50s.
started.
Okay.
all over the country, mostly on the East Coast and down in like Florida and Texas. So when we purchased Mad Hatter Muffler and Brakes in 2017, we went through this whole rebranding thing because it was just muffler and brakes.
Yeah.
And he knew everything.
You guys do a little more than that now.
Yeah, he did everything. And so we changed it to auto repair, and then we found a local artist to do our logo.
Looks great.
Yeah, we love it. And so
Shout out to Canal.
yeah, shout out Canal. He also did our Westgate one because he removed the racing flags
Sure.
from it because that was just
Couldn't get them off the polos though, huh?
And now
That's old.
Oh, okay.
we're working on that, but it was the first thing I wanted to change, so he
Sure.
did that for us too.
I don't get the new stuff.
Yeah.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Are you any worry that Johnny Depp is going to send you guys a cease and desist at some time? No?
No.
Okay. He's probably had to spend enough time in the courtrooms over the last couple of
But
years.
yeah, so we dropped the muffler brakes, added auto repair, was full service, added some purple because I am from Kansas. I went to a purple school down there.
Go
And
Cats.
so there's just not enough purple up here in Nebraska. It's all red.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the automotive industry, it's all red or yellow or black. And so I was like, Zach, we're going to use some purple. And so painted our bay doors purple, have purple on our logo. I wear purple quite frequently. The employees like it. It's just bright and happy. Females like it.
It's a symbol of royalty, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the brand has been really easy to spin. I mean, Alice in Wonderland, everybody seems to remember it. It's
Sure.
like timeless. So
We see the White Rabbit appear in some of your guys' ad space and stuff. Zach, for you, I mean, you guys talked about moving out of offices and creating some space. What's the biggest benefit? What's the biggest hurdle of working with your spouse?
Benefit? Jeez.
You only get to pick one. I know there's so many to choose from.
The biggest hurdle to working with my wife is, honestly, I really don't know what probably our people get to see us interact as we would sometimes at home.
Sure.
In the offices is probably the biggest detractor.
Just with your hands, what's the biggest object she's thrown at you? Yeah.
Well, she did play softball when she was younger, so you got
a little bit of a cannon. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, probably the best thing is, we're opposites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly,
Yes.
the space and what each of us desire to occupy or do is two completely different spaces.
It's incredible to me how often in this room that gets brought up as a positive. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought.
Oh yeah. Well, you're not competing for the same space.
Good point.
Like, when it comes to her making a design, I may be like, "Hey, this is something cool like this," and she's like, "What should I do?" I'm like, "No idea. Just there. It's in your court now."
You now have all the information I have.
But on the flip side of it, when something's going, if we have car questions or something like that, she's like, nothing
Ask
to do
this
with
guy.
me, you know. So it's really, we occupy two different spaces, so it's not like anyone's ever stepping on anyone's toes.
Sure. Lynn, same question.
Well, I can act like the consumer. I don't know
Sure.
a lot about cars. And so what I know
Gives you a unique perspective.
correct. And so then I can reach out to the customer, like the customer, and meet in the middle and communicate with them through pictures or visuals. And so he can give me all this stuff. I can download it into some kind of creative data and then spit it back out so people can consume it.
Zach, I have to ask, is it hard for you to do that? I think when you're in the industry and you use different terminology that, is unique to that space, but you're having so many conversations with technicians, with repair people, with purchasers that probably understand the lingo. Is it sometimes difficult for you to pull the reins back a little bit on the automotive speak?
Not so much for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of been at almost every place in it, sweeping floors, working on cars, adjunct teaching at Metro. I service advising, managing shops, starting up shops, dealing with people, all sorts of every point in the industry. So for me, it's not that hard. A lot of technicians it is, but when I came into it, I looked at the industry as a whole, so I didn't get buried in that tech.
It's got to be difficult to do, though.
Oh yeah. Well, the truth is, I love it all, so
Sure.
It's not difficult for me. I love doing my reading, finding out what's new and up and coming. But at the end of the day, it's she knows I can have my technician talk over here, and then I flip a switch, and I'm a completely different.
What he said in English was,
We have this phrase around, like with the service advisors, act like you're talking to Lynn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
I love that. I love that.
You're trying to explain this to Lynn or your mom or your grandma or, a friend that just doesn't know anything about cars. So
Zach, I asked Lynn to kind of pick her favorite in some sense, so now I got to ask you the tough question. What's the dream car?
the dream car.
If you could own one vehicle ever.
You know, the funny thing is you think a lot of mechanics would be car guys. And when I was young, my true thing is I determined it was going to be a hobby or a career. I don't think they really interlap very well because if it becomes a hobby and you truly love it,
You're putting money into it.
you put your money into it. It became a career for me. That way I can go home. You know, if I was to pick a dream car, it's just a regular pickup truck.
I thought he was going to go really weird and be like, I just want a horse.
You know, honestly, one of those e-bikes wouldn't be bad.
They are pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie.
You know, I love all the cars, but a lot of times being me, how I look at the industry, I look at every car and I see every problem.
Sure.
So, you know, for me, it's not really about a car. I mean, honestly, I could jump in a Corvette and drive a 92 Chevy Cavalier and
Be perfectly fine.
It doesn't matter to me.
Drive a Cavalier.
Me too, buddy. Me too. We're catching up with Zach and Lynn Haver here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. They own Mad Hatter and Westgate Automotive, Westgate High Tech Auto Care here in the Omaha area. When we talk about growth, Lynn, when we talk about the different locations, there's 3 Mad Hatter locations now,
Two
correct?
Mad Hatters, 1 Westgate.
Is there any interest in heading across the bridge and venturing into Iowa?
So yes, we do have a location.
Yeah,
in Iowa.
for growth, I mean, you have the one there, the one here. Is if there's growth, is it going to be on this side of the river or the other side of the river? In your opinion, and obviously, not holding you to it, but
Well, so Westgate's going to be a one-off thing. It has
Sure.
a gas station. It's like it does not have C-store stuff, but it has gas pumps. Its concept is very different. So if we expand Mad Hatter, I think both of us would probably move west
okay.
Or south.
or south.
Any worry when you talk about South, the number of automotive shops that are down there? Is that a benefit?
You know, I really don't think the number of automotive shops have a real telltale of anything.
Sure.
I think it's the service and how you treat your customers that matter more than anything.
That's a good point.
As we sit here and talk today, we are having our lunch and learn. Today's over inspections, how we present them to people, how we should properly do it, and how we should, converse with our customers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what our lunch and learn today is
Everybody
about.
comes in for free lunch.
Yeah.
How often do you guys do this?
Every week.
Every
Wow.
week.
Okay.
Yeah.
The response from the people that work for you when you do things like that is
They love it.
Yeah.
We mix the groups up every quarter, I believe, so they get
Yep.
to intermingle with the other shops. We'll get food from people. Today it's Valentino's. Shout out to
There you go.
Valentino's.
Speaking of Red State.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they love it. And then they can socialize, they get free lunch, they learn something, and we'll cover technical stuff. I'll do some marketing stuff. Vince will stand up and do sales stuff. We
Vince.
touch all topics.
I was trying my hardest not to bring him up this whole interview. Shout out to Vince. We love you, buddy.
Everybody loves Vince.
You know what? At the end, we try to cross train our service advisors with, they sometimes it overruns and gets too techy for them when we do different types of training, but we try to cross train our employees as much as possible. I want my technicians to know what our service advisors and managers go through when they're talking to customers. So that way those technicians know how to properly explain something on an inspection. So it makes it easier for the front and vice versa. Or if a customer calls in, they're talking about an alternator, maybe they have a little bit more of an understanding to be able to talk better where they're not, hold on, let me go talk to my...
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. It's probably really hard to pigeonhole this or give a 10,000-foot view of it. We brought up we brought up minivans. We brought up SUVs. Mm-hmm. We've referenced Chevy Cavalier. Shout out the 97 Cavalier. But it's probably hard to say overwhelmingly that, when somebody walks in, they can expect X amount of dollars, but I'm sure that's one of the first few questions people ask. If we're talking about the average cost of a repair, what is the usual response to that question?
So it really depends on the vehicle, but here's my best thing that I can kind of refer to people. Right now, I'll tell you in a year for budgeting, if you were to budget, roughly $150 for every 10,000 miles you have on a vehicle. So, if you bring your vehicle in at 100,000 miles on a domestic, I would say, that $150, $200 where you're looking at $100,000 or 100,000 miles, you may spend, $1,500 to $2,000 in repair and maintenance in that year. If you're talking European or foreign badge plate or foreign badges, you're going to be in that $250 to $300. So
because parts are harder to get.
Parts, programming, technology, all that type of stuff gets more expensive. So so
I have to ask, and this may be a really stupid question. Does that mean like Volkswagen programming basically is done in German? Essentially, is that kind of what? Okay.
No,
I was like, what? I was like, really? That's an interesting choice.
No, speaking die Deutsch or
Yeah, sure. And I guess we're not here to badmouth anybody or bury anybody. So if you want to pass on this, I understand. Do you feel comfortable saying what like the most commonly worked on vehicle may be?
To tell you the truth, we work on everything pretty frequently.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it depends on the shop and the location too. Cause Westgate we got, 2 Volkswagens, 6 Audis, and a Mercedes and a BMW in that shop right now as we're speaking. So, kind of all over
some higher end vehicles there, sure.
Yeah, Euro. And then in Omaha, I mean, Dodge, Chevy, Ford. I mean, this day may be red Dodge pickup day, and then it's white Silverado. And
sure.
Then the next day is you have some of your Fords coming in. So
if we're talking about the growth in the future, 5-10 years down the road, where do we want Mad Hatter to be?
Really, as I sit there and look at it, I want Mad Hatter to grow at the rate that it can grow. And the rate it can grow is how many great employees can we get? How many can we bring into our organization?
There's only one Vince Percy.
Yeah, there is only one. But how can we grow them within we become a business that we bring people in and we're busting at the seams of we need more locations to keep our staff.
Sure.
How do we become that business is the giant question, not we're opening a store, let's find some mouth breathers. And,
sure. Is that difficult for you? Because, I mean, obviously, I think if the need is there, it's probably hard to say, let's put our foot on the gas, but we got to hold the brake a little bit to make sure. That was a really bad pun. I didn't even think about that. That is
100% correct.
Yeah.
So as Lynn says that we get application is all these people applying is, do they meet our standards? And, one of the biggest thing that we hire for is the head and the heart. I mean, mostly the heart. We want to, we involve almost our entire staff into our hiring process because guess what? When you go to work, you spend more time with your coworkers than you do your family. Most people.
Yeah, usually.
Me and her are attached at the hip. But, we're not most.
You can't get away from your from your coworkers.
Yeah. So, but that's why we really have a longer hiring process because I can get through any interview. Most people can get through a 45-minute interview of just
question.
Yeah, BSing it. But can you go through 5 interactions of BSing it? Can you meet who your future coworkers will be? And,
as somebody that BS's every day of the week, I can tell you not everybody can do it.
Yeah. But you really find out who those people are. And, if you're hiring people who you like to be around, then work doesn't seem as bad. The workplace ain't so bad. People are happier when we're dealing with customers because guess what? I don't hate the guy next to me.
That's a good point.
So it really becomes that we're, a lot of our hiring is we're looking for the proper person and then we bring them in and train them.
Well, Lynn, I have to ask, if somebody's trying to be number 157 on the pile but want to work their way up to the top of the list, what does the ideal candidate at Mad Hatter look like?
They're eager to learn. They're going to be ready to work, and they just want to help people and take a lot of pride into what they do for their coworkers. We do a lot of team events. I mean, we just really encourage everybody to, I don't like to use the word family.
Sure.
Be like family.
Because it's hard to separate, right? Because unfortunately, sometimes you have to fire family if that's the case. Yeah.
So we just, I want someone to be eager to learn and just have that wide-eyed, I want to take in everything and absorb and be a sponge type technician or service advisor, or maybe someday a social media assistant for me.
Sure.
And just be able to roll with the punches and the changes in the industry, and I don't know.
Truly someone that wants to work in a team environment. A lot of our industry, it's a lot of commission type things, and we don't really do that. All of our guys are hourly, so we really encourage working as a team, because guess what? We don't want someone to get stuck with all the really hard jobs and
Be burdened by it.
be burned by it. So we really encourage a team environment, and that's why when we hire people, we're looking for the people who want to work with us and be part of our team, and really work together as a great group of people versus
All for themselves.
yes.
And maybe that answers this next question. If somebody's looking to start a garage or an automotive repair shop for the first time, what's the best piece of advice you can give them?
Best piece of advice would be know the industry and be ready, and don't. One of the biggest things is don't discount yourself or your knowledge, because like say there's been some startups of people that I know that try to come in. They're like, oh, I'll just be cheaper than everyone, so I'll get busy. And
Doesn't always work that way.
Well, they ran their, they can easily run themselves out of business.
Sure.
By undercharging, and one guy quit because he figured out, after running his own business, he quit because he figured out he could make more money working for someone else.
Lynn, same piece of advice?
Have an exit plan.
Sure.
Because if you are the business, then you will always be the business.
Yeah.
So I think both of us know that we kind of bit the bullet and had like some hiring below us just so we can walk away at times and have a life. So
Is it difficult to do? Because, listen, you guys, obviously, husband, wife, business owner, manager, social media expert, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is it hard at times to get away?
well, we talk about work all the time.
Well,
Well,
the truth
during
is,
baseball season.
the truth is, when you love what you do, it doesn't.
It's hard to stop, right?
Yeah, it is truly hard to stop. Honestly, I love the industry. I love everything about it, and it's. When I go home, I'll sit at night and be up scrolling through, trying to read some articles and stuff like that to figure out how we can become a better company.
Sure.
How we can do better and all that type of stuff. But at the end of it, it's, as she talks about exit plan, this or that. It's,
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's her plan, huh?
I really love what I do.
Yeah.
But at the same fact is you can't work all the time.
Well, let me ask this, and we'll kind of wrap it up here because we're a little bit over on time. This has been a really great conversation. I appreciate it. We're catching up with Zach and Lynn Haver of Mad Hatter and Westgate High Tech Auto Repair here on Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Lynn, is it hard for you? And again, and Zach, I'll ask you the same question. Is it difficult to separate wife, business partner, social media expert, website designer, and still have to be Lynn at the end of the day?
No, not really.
Why do you think that is?
Well, probably because I love what I do. I have various experiences in previous industries, and they didn't really fit my lifestyle, and this really fits our lifestyle with kids. I was a nurse and worked night shift and didn't sleep, so I was zombie mom for about 12, 15 years.
I have to tell you, this is interview number 63, and you're the first person to say it's not hard to do. Out of all 62 other people, they've all gone, yeah, absolutely. Zach, what about for you? Does that mean it's as simple as for you to kind of separate who you are versus what you do as well?
Well, who I am and what I do is kind of all intertwined.
Sure.
The industry is one of the key things about who I am and what I love. So I think if you pulled me away from the industry, it'd be, there would be a void that would be
Big
very
hole left,
hard.
sure.
Yeah. So, but to separate, no, I go to baseball games. We're going to go to baseball this weekend, that
Sure.
type of, with our kid. And it'll be fun. We get away, we do stuff. With the staff we got, I don't sit there stressed out all the time.
That's got to be a giant plus, too.
Yeah. Shout out to Mike and Vince again.
Yeah.
And the entire staff, actually.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
I think we're starting to see who the favorite employee is there.
Yeah. Well, Mike and Vince are the ones that are kind of directly below us.
It was just Vince's recent birthday, too,
Yeah,
so we can give him a little bit of love. Yeah.
But everyone from, our newest technician to our oldest employee, everyone really steps up and they try to do the best they can for us and for our customers. And, that's really what you're trying to do as a company.
Like I said, we're a little bit over here. Is there anything about Mad Hatter and Westgate that we haven't mentioned that people should know?
Check us out on social media.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, it is Mad Hatter and Westgate Auto Repair, not the High Tech Auto Repair, not the same company, but under the same umbrella, and two very different events. And if you guys want to check out their website, their social medias, you can see the difference between the two and learn more about Lynn and Zach. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing.